so we practiced non-contact, but he went through everything. Isaac went through everything.
Oh, that's good.
But again, it's non-contact.
Yeah.
I'm hopeful tomorrow will be off. Wednesday would be like a legitimate practice. I'm hopeful all those guys will be in there. Trey went through everything today. The only guy that didn't do anything was two guys. It was Io and Kevin didn't do anything on the court.
And Io's got the thumb still?
Yeah, he ended up going to see the doctor just to get it looked at and stuff. It's still bothering him after the game, and I'm sure it probably got hit a few more times. So I think they just want to make sure everything's okay. So he ended up going to see the doctor, and Kevin's still doing treatment. Actually, there he is up there right now doing his treatment.
That.
Yeah.
What I know you talked about him yesterday. What's sort of the extent of what Isaac is doing right now?
Like I said, he is like running and shooting and doing all that kind of stuff. The issue has been is kind of when he arches back, when he goes backwards like that, is what's caused him a problem. He says he feels much better, but I think until he gets out there and actually has some contact and some moving and cutting and to see actually how he feels, that will be the telltale. But everything that he's been able to do in a controlled setting, he's been fine with.
How's the team kind of been responding to the losing streak, maybe compared to what you thought, how they've responded in previous years?
I think they're all disappointed. This is just, you sit there and you watch a lot of film on not only ourselves, but you're watching film on the opponent and who you're playing, And I get the record, part of it, of some of the teams that we've played, but we don't have the luxury to think that those are just wins. Like, to beat some of those teams, that we have to play exceptionally well, especially with some of the things that we've had to deal with injury-wise. And even if we didn't have injuries, those games are just hard games for us, and the Brooklyns or New Orleans or Indiana's. Listen, Indiana's got, a bunch of guys on that team that played in the Eastern Conference Finals a year ago. Obviously Golden State's got several guys that, have had deep playoff runs. So we don't have this, this luxury, or I call it sometimes like the entitlement of, okay, this team's got a better, we should just win. So I think the guys understand that all these games are going to be hard for us. I think the disappointing part and for them, and the frustrating part, is that collectively we have to play better to our identity, than we have been, for quite honestly, since all these injuries happened. I think I said to Casey before the game, regardless of who's in or out, you still got to be able to hold true. And I get different guys in rotations, different guys getting minutes. You got Emmanuel, you got Lockie, they're up and down from the G League, they're just being dumped in there. Like, I get all that stuff, but you still want to be able to play in a way that's consistent, whether you're fully healthy or not. And all these games are going to be challenging for us. There's no easy games for us, and I think these other teams got NBA players and pro players and good players, and we have to play well. And a lot of it is the detailed little stuff. Last night it happened to be the block out and the rebounding. Sometimes it's been turnovers. We didn't shoot the ball particularly well. We have not shot the ball particularly well. But can you find other ways to win to offset a bad shooting night? Now, the frustrating part for me last night was, and I think even for those guys, is with whatever it was, 6 or 8 minutes to go in the game. We're in the game, and then it kind of loose balls, some 50-50s, some offensive rebounds. Butler makes a few plays. Next thing you know, the lead goes from wherever it was 8 to like 20, and then the game's kind of like out of reach at that point. So, that's the frustrating part. I think that's the disappointing part, that they know and they want to, I think, play better. But some of it is in the half court, both offensively and defensively. We've got to be better helping each other. We do not do a good enough job helping, and we all need each other's help. Whether it's being in the right position defensively to help in pick and roll, whether it's, setting a screen, setting up a screen, whether it's creating spacing. We've got to be 5 guys helping each other and working together, because we're not going to have, quote unquote, that guy that offensively that can just bail us out, or just say to Isaac, guard this guy and just take him out. We have to rely on each other.
To your point about the rebounding, and I don't need to tell you this, but when you guys finished 15-5 last year, I think you were top 5 in defensive rebounding percentage, and in this stretch since the 5-0 start, you're bottom third of the league. Is is it different? Is it consistent problems or is it different problems? Is it boxing out sometimes? Is it? I mean, what are you seeing with the defensive rebounds?
So, Indiana and I think Brooklyn maybe were like two of they were up there in terms of crash rate. They were very, very high crash rate teams.
Okay.
We did a pretty good job against those two teams. This game we didn't do a good job. I think there was two issues last night. The first one was our inability to control the ball either in space, and this has been a problem for us, or in pick and roll. And then all of a sudden we're pulling in help, the ball's getting sprayed, we're not closing well enough, we're in rotation, and some of it was rotational blockouts where, okay, Vooch is being forced to sprint to the corner to contest a three, and now the center's at the basket and someone else has got to pick his man up, right? You may say, well, geez, that's a rotational blockout, and they maybe didn't see it. Well, when you don't block anybody out, that's a problem. You know, at least try to find somebody. It was that, and then honestly, when some of the threes went up, we had a couple guys leaking down the floor, you know, on plays, and then there was some times where we in the lane did not put bodies on people well enough. And quite honestly, it happened twice in a free throw situation where we gave up and that's happened too much in my opinion. And we've talked about that and put that on film. Like, the only thing you have to do on a free throw is block out. That's the only thing you have to do. And we've gotten wedged under the rim and pushed under the rim against bigger, stronger people. And sometimes we've just stepped in to go rebound and the ball's maybe gone over our head a little bit and we didn't put a body on somebody. Those are the kind of detailed things that we don't have the luxury. It's hard for us to overcome that.
Yeah.
It's just we don't have the luxury to be able to overcome that. And especially with a shooting night like we had. Now, going back and looking at the numbers analytically last night, one is those paint running floating shots were down. We had talked about that. That was encouraging. About 40% of our shots were threes, which were good. The last two games, our potential assists and ball movement have been really low, in my opinion, from where it was during the year. But you know, last night it was top 3 in the league. So we did a better job moving. We didn't necessarily shoot it well enough.
Right.
Some of the turnovers hurt us because they're active with their hands. I think the turnovers maybe were a wash in terms of points off turnovers, both teams. But the big one was what they made from the three-point line and what they got back on second chance opportunities. And that's really, really hard when you shoot the ball like we do. Give up second chance points and they make 23s. It's going to be hard to overcome that.
Billy, you mentioned the experience on benches like Indiana and Golden State. All that considered, like, is it more frustrating for you considering your group is not like, it's not like you're 19, 20, 21. Like, these are guys that are young but with experience. Does that make it more frustrating?
Well, I mean, I think that, you know, every team's always a little bit different. You know, certainly Vooch has been a veteran guy. I think Kevin, Zach, and Isaac, you know, have been veteran guys, but they haven't been available. They haven't been there. You know, a lot of it's been, you know, Patrick's got some experience under their belt. So, you know, again, I'm not blaming it all on the injuries, but, you know, there are guys having to step up in more responsible roles. And to be honest with you, I think sometimes guys can realize how hard it is to consistently do that night in and night out. I'm not frustrated by that. I mean, Modest has got a growth that he's got to go through, you know, quite honestly. Josh is still young, so to speak. He didn't necessarily have a lot of playoff experience, you know, in Oklahoma City. You know, Kobe, obviously, I think as a veteran, has really tried to use his voice quite a bit, which has been good. But listen, for all of our guys, you know, the experience of some of these teams that we played against in Indiana, in terms of that experience you're talking about, we don't have that experience. We just don't. Hopefully you can get it. Because some of those guys in Indiana didn't have that experience either. You know what I mean? You kind of gain it through going through some of those situations.
Billy, when we talked to Josh a couple days ago, he kind of said that, you know, he felt like you guys were close. You just need to get one. Have you felt like there's been a more increased sense of urgency, and has that made it more difficult to, you know, stick to your fundamentals, your principles during this losing streak?
I think for us, and I understand what Josh is saying, but I think for us, we've got to be way, way, way more resilient and way, way mentally tougher. And I could see it during the game. The game started, I think Io got a pretty good look on a corner three, missed it. Vooch got another really good look coming down the trail three. And then there was somebody else got a good look. We missed all three of them. And what ended up happening was, I don't know what they started, 5 for 6 or 5 for 8. Their shots bang, 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 and it's just like, we got to be able to overcome that. You know what I mean? As long as we're generating the right shots, we got to live with the results. But we also got to have some resiliency when we're not making those shots. Or what are the other things we can do to impact the fact that we're not shooting the ball well? And I did think for us a little bit, some of that stuff was deflating. And we got to be mentally strong enough to get over that. Only thing we can control is what kind of shots we generate. And we got to live with the result. But we can control the blockouts. We can control communication on defense. We can control being better in pick and roll coverage. We can control how well we close out. There's a lot of things that we can control that we didn't control. So I get what Josh is saying, but if we're having a tough time offensively, and we've had some really bad shooting nights, quite honestly, that's one of the things I think gets lost in all this. If you look at our shooting numbers those first 6 games compared to where shooting our numbers now are, it's a big drop-off. Now, maybe we outkicked our coverage the first 6 games, and maybe we're way below where we normally, maybe the average is somewhere in the middle, but the stuff that I just still mentioned is coming again in Charlotte. Can we talk and pick and roll? Can we get back in transition? Can we block out? Can we take care of the basketball? Can we generate good shots? It's coming again, right? So the numbers generally balance themselves out. We probably weren't quite maybe as good as we were shooting the ball the first 6 games, and we're certainly not as bad as we've been here the last several games, somewhere in the middle. But it's the other stuff that we have control over that I think we got to clean up.
Thanks a lot, Billy.
Yep.
You've been around this league a little bit. What do you think's going on right now? I mean, this looks, if you just watch the games, the way you guys played at the start of the season, the way you guys are playing now, looks like 2 different teams.
There's a lot of things going wrong right now, honestly. Rebounding, defense, our pace has slowed down, our moving the ball has slowed down. We're just playing totally different right now.
You guys are obviously undermanned, but I asked Billy and some players yesterday, obviously he gives you guys a game plan and prepares you guys. What do you think's the disconnect from receiving that game plan to what's going on in the games? It's not like you guys are trying to lose, so
I think it's the details. I think we're missing the small details within the game plan. As the game goes on, leads happen, frustration happens, emotions happen, and I think guys just tend to slip on the details.
What's been the mood like on off days here in terms of trying to go back to work and fix things?
I don't feel like the mood has changed. I feel like we're still the same as we were when we were winning. We're just not getting the same results right now.
JC, I asked Josh about this yesterday, but sort of the mark of good teams or good direction for teams, even when they change, is they feel like they're building good habits. Josh doesn't feel like you guys are building good habits right now. So when you look at tanking teams that are 19, 20, 21, building good habits, why do you think this group with mid-20-year-old guys and you and Boots hasn't been able to necessarily build good habits?
I probably would just have to go back to the details again. This game it's a small margin for error. So if we're not paying attention to the little small details, I'll just give you an example. Just say we're running a play, and he say he wants the cut to be the same timing as somebody catch the ball, but your cut is delayed. Now that play's delayed. Now it's hard for us to get a shot. Just something that small could change the whole outcome of that possession. And I just think we go through too many possessions of that where we have too many small, minor details where we're missing and we're just not focused on. It's costing us games.
And Billy's talked about that margin of error a ton. I mean, you guys knew the group you had coming into the year that there was no sort of isolation star or no real team defense yet.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like that margin of error is working against you guys more often than not?
Definitely. Like you said, we don't have those type of players where we can just get a ball to when the game slows down and we can just count on to go get us a bucket over and over and over again. So throughout the course of the game, we have to play together. I just feel like more times than not, we start the game off, we're already down 10 the first few minutes of the game. So now, from that point on, we're fighting the game for the rest of the game. And I just feel like guys take it upon themselves to try to get it done themselves, and it's we're not that type of team, and it's showing.
Billy was just saying you guys need to be more resilient when teams go on runs to not let that be so deflating. How do you work on that?
It's a good one. How do you work on that?
How do you improve that? How do you resolve that?
My answer, I would just say, don't pay attention to the score. You know what I'm saying? Treat the game like it's 0-0. That way, at least we don't feel like we're fighting behind. You know what I'm saying? Like, especially when it's early in the game. There's so many runs in the game. There's so much time to come back in the game. We shouldn't be dwelling on a 10-point lead early in the game.
Do you feel like you are kind of like these last couple of games, especially against some teams that are like towards the bottom of the standings? Do you feel like you guys come in kind of feeling like you should be better than this team, you should win, and maybe that's a reason why the details have been kind of lost in translation?
I mean, I can only speak for myself. You know, I don't feel that way. I don't think that way. You know, this is the NBA. There's 450 guys out of the best 450 in the world. You know what I'm saying? So judging a team based upon their record, that's silly to do. You know what I'm saying? That's childish. It's the league. We all got game. We all good. So it don't matter who we playing. Once you put on this uniform, you got to go out there and give it. No matter who's on the other side.
Sorry, last one. Just for you personally, what's the level of frustration with knowing you guys can compete at that level, knowing that it can result in a 5-0 stretch to now where it is over these last couple of games? Is there, whether it's for you or for the team at large, like a certain level of frustration with that, given that you have been able to have that success?
Definitely. You know, losing is always frustrating. You know, no matter what the circumstances are, we go out here, we put the work in, we want to win, and when you don't get them results, you're definitely going to be frustrated. So we got to figure something out.
You guys, you've obviously been in the rotation consistently the last 3 games. I know you prepare the same way regardless, but what is it like going into a game knowing you're going to play because of all the injuries? Does it change anything for you?
Nah, it don't change. Come on, KC, you know that.
Billy was just saying yesterday that like it's clear that you guys like each other as a group, but until you guys sort of love each other enough to box out and die on the floor, all these different things, that the skid might sort of continue. The like versus love, what's the difference there, and why do you think liking each other hasn't been enough to translate to win?
I ain't gonna lie, I don't get into all that. We got a job to do. It's simple. Just go out there and do your job, whether you like me or not.
Thank you.
Good stuff.
Yes,
We appreciate